This is your Flathead Indian ceremonial narrator, Louis J. Tellier. I'm down here at the annual Indian powwow at Arlee, Montana. I see now the drummers are getting up. They're going to do an owl dance on this next number, I believe. Yeah, it's an owl dance. This is the dance where all of the people, the men and women, join in. The owl dance is one of the dances that was introduced into this tribe about 1910 by the Gros Ventre Indians of central Montana.
Welcome to Podcast IRC, conversations with Indigenous scholars to advance understandings and gain new knowledge, hosted by the Indigenous Research Center at Salish Kootenai College. All right, so you heard from the gentleman talking there. He said that was an owl dance, that there was singing or preparing to sing, and that it was introduced here on this particular reservation in 1910 by the Gros Ventre. Did you guys hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's hard.
Yeah, a little hard to make out. But he also said, and this was kind of odd. I don't know if you guys picked it up, but he said the marionator. He was the marionator. Did you hear that word? No, nobody heard it. Anyway,
he sounded like a really old-timey radio sportscaster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He must have had some.
We got Lou Gehrig with a 3-0 pitch.
yeah, that guy.
The bottom of the second inning. Now let's hear a word from Harvey Bars.
This is Smitty from the City Press. Take this down.
I won't let you hijack this podcast here.
See? Come on now, see?
Yeah, I did have that.
Chesterfield cigarettes.
That old-timey sound. Louis J. Tellier.
Who is this Louis?
Yeah, Louis J. Tellier. I don't know a whole lot about this gentleman. I do know a little bit. You know, he was part of a group that was formed as a dance troupe here back in the late 50s, and part of kind of a revival of dance and song for the purpose of entertainment and show, I think. And so he was the one who would what they call it today, the MC. They called the marionator. He was the marionator of those dances for the tourists and those kind of things.
So that's a real word?
Yeah, marionator. Apparently. I didn't look it up, but I've listened to this clip many times, and he goes on to marinate the whole series of songs and says who's all there, and is remarking on the different individuals that traveled there to participate in the Arlee celebration at that time. But I think one of the more significant things that is mentioned here is this talking about this dance, the owl dance. And so I got to looking into really what's the history of this owl dance, because we all remember the owl dance from our youth, probably, maybe. It's just a dance between a man and a woman. It's kind of like what would be the country and western equivalent, kind of like a two-step or something like a waltz, And so I went down the foxtrot,
the jitterbug.
Well, you guys are getting a little carried away here.
Stay focused, guys. Stay focused.
Stay focused. Focus here. Lock in.
Focus.
Anyway, I went down the trail of documentation of this dance, and it appears that the owl dance did come from the east, and it may have come from the Gros Ventre, but the Gros Ventre picked it up from the Sioux, which seems like to be a familiar narrative with a lot of dances related to the Omaha or the Omaha, and those particular dances in that area. Well, it appears that this owl dance was a derivation of an old victory dance, a victory social dance, when the Sioux were part of the World War II or World War I and the defeating of the German army. So they started to compose these songs, and these were composed songs. These weren't songs that were given or gifted or received from spiritual sources. They were composed songs that had words that narrated their different victories in battle, or I don't know what you call it, like making fun of the enemy. It's kind of an interesting this whole phenomenon of this dance from the Omahas that infused all the way over here to the west, and how it really kind of challenges the idea, or reaffirms the idea of these vast trade routes, or these intertribal sharings of things that seem to make sense and fit into the time period. So one of the possible ideas to discuss that are related to, in particular, research and researching things such as gaining new knowledge, is this idea of gifting between tribes to coordinate cooperation. The end.
All right, go ahead. Stop the
Time for
recording.
dinner. Yep.
Yeah, we'll stop the recording now. That's the end of this podcast. Join us next week for a reading of War and Peace.
A reading of War and Peace. That reminds me of Seinfeld.
Yeah. Oh, wait. First of all, before we continue, I have something just real quick. So this is our 7th episode.
Woo woo.
And and we have viewers from many different locations, and so a big thanks to our viewership or our listenership. But I've combed through all these recordings and edited them out, and there's a lot of funny things on here, and one of them is everybody has a unique laugh. So I'm wondering if you can identify the laugh. Are you guys ready? I want you to identify the laugh.
It's like a game
listen
show.
Real closely.
It's like a game show.
Listen really closely.
Brenda and Cammy
Okay,
are already
okay.
like hiding their mouths.
Listen very closely. And I hope this is loud enough, but we'll find out. Ready? No chuckling. Listen.
Oh, that's you, Sean.
Yeah,
Dean.
that's you, Sean Dean.
What?
Is that you, Sean Dean?
Listen again. Listen again. That's Aaron. That's our good friend, Aaron Bryn.
Oh, that's a dumb
SKC
laugh.
faculty. Travel.
It's all embarrassed now.
Aaron. That's
Do you
Aaron.
want to try it again?
He's a
You can
funny
give
guy.
us another laugh if
Yeah.
you want, Aaron. You can have a do-over.
Yeah. Give us a
I
fresh
can't
laugh.
mimic that. Like, play it again. Let me see.
Okay, ready? Here we go. Ready? Quiet.
Wait, I almost at it.
Okay, I'll do it again. Do it again. Ready?
Oh my
Or
god.
like something like that. Right?
Yeah, here we go. Ready?
Must have been funny. That's a good laugh.
Dude, I'm killing it on the laugh.
I know. Okay, here's another one. Are you ready? We'll do one more, then we'll talk. Okay, this one you won't guess. Ready? Go.
Sarah.
That's
Sarah.
That's
God,
Sarah
it
all
sounds like
the
I'm
way.
like choking.
I know. Yeah.
I'm having fun.
Gasping
Yeah,
for air. Someone call
Dang it, this is
911.
embarrassing. You're right, Aaron.
She's choking.
Okay, I feel for you now.
I know. 'Cause it's like, I don't think I laugh. That's horrible. It's like when you hear your voice on an answering machine.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. So tell me then, what are your thoughts on this and how this relates to really our goal is defining a research methodology and how
I like that word that you started with. You jumped out of the gate with social order. And what came to mind immediately was rabbit dancing. The rabbit dance is a form of owl dancing, but it was more for geared towards younger people to try to get them geared to warm up to the opposite sex and try to socially teach them how to interact. I don't know what their definitions or boundaries of young people were, but I imagine middle schoolers, high schoolers, and just trying to get people to go ahead and take the leap and start interacting, and that's kind of originates from rabbit dancing. And
Right.
I thought that was a good connection. And the topic is something that I think kind of rattles around in our heads, but this is an interesting podcast because you can put words on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll bounce back to what you were talking about from owl dancing coming from Gros Ventre. Being around the drum, you get the chance to visit a lot. Aaron and Sean, you get a chance to pick up this and that and a lot of storytelling, and being around Belknap and just trooping around there for years and years. That really is in sync with the Dakotas and the Cohominy dancing and how that comes back. And then if you use that social order again, there's a whole lot of protocols to men and women and how they interact. And, a Cohominy dance that came from a guy named Lance Long in the early 1970s. And it was about 1971 that he brought it from Fort Peck to Belknap, and Assiniboine started using Cohominy dances. And the only difference that you can really take, and you can parallel owl dancing and Cohominy dancing will have different social protocols. So Cohominy dancing, back to the social order of things, is a man will take his hat off. He has to take his hat off when dancing with a woman. And then it goes a little bit further where if a man doesn't take his hat off, the woman can fine him, and it's all in good taste and no ill will. But it's just teaching manners, basically.
Right.
You go out, you dance 4 songs. You don't just start one song and dance 2 maybe, or maybe 3. You have to dance all 4 together. And they have I guess an MC or a stick man may determine a man's choice or a woman's choice. They'll give a man a stick or a woman a stick, and then it's their choice if who's initiating, man or woman. And again, it just goes back to that social order. And I had never even thought about these things, but it really is kind of giving each other, teaching etiquette, and kind of nuances and how we interact with each other. They have a thing where you can dance with anybody. It's a public dance. You can dance with your in-laws. You can dance with your outlaws. You can dance with anybody.
What are outlaws?
I was like, oh, dang, it's risky.
Those are the ones that came back into circulation, but they got
Those are called felons today. You call them felons.
Would it?
You can dance with felons.
If you broke 5 hearts, that's a felony.
Hey.
I agree, and you can see that, even if it's not stated, per se, or written down that, oh, hey, this dance here is it teaches our youth manners. I don't think anybody's necessarily going to say that, or at least I've never really heard it, but in a way It does
that
reinforce
happens, and then we just kind of move forward without putting words on it. I think we do a lot of things like that.
So then, I remember seeing the owl dance, growing up and stuff, but I've never really seen anybody decline it. What's the social etiquette on being like, no thanks, or I pass, or
can you?
Can you?
Aaron, I know you turned down a lot of women.
Hey.
They take your enrollment number away.
I doubt it.
Your blood quantum drops.
Hey, before we start, what about Jason dropping mad knowledge just now?
Yeah, true.
I know.
Let's. Does this guy know how to party or what?
I know you guys have the same stories. You guys have been around the world, and you get a chance to sit down and ask somebody.
So
I was waiting for Aaron to chime in about push dancing and how
we'll get there
because they have different social etiquettes and protocols there as well.
So now that we got a public forum here and we got Jason HeavyRunner on the mic, hot on the mic, we have to call him out to all those powwow people over the years that were a victim of the corn dog bandit. he's live.
It was bad. We ruined a lot of tapes. We ruined a lot of recording.
Back in the day, I fell victim to the corn dog bandit twice.
The other ignorant thing we used to do is when you would take pictures, taking a group picture, we would drop the camera and take all the heads off the pictures.
Yeah.
So
2 weeks later,
we'd go back and develop the pictures, and they'd just be pissed.
On 2 weeks later, when they developed the pictures, and I know Jason or Sean Dean always got doubles later. So you just
and the glossies.
It was just a ignorant move.
So what we're talking about here is back in the day when you stand around a drum and you record songs and these tapes became precious. They were kind of these little things. Do you have Fort Hall? Do you have Fort Duchesne? Do you whatever, right? Well, every once in a while you'd be listening to your recording of Crow Fair 1996 and Black Whistle's rocking a tune, and then all of a sudden the recording stops and someone gets on the mic and goes, corn dog. And then the song comes back on. Oh, right over Jeff's lead,
man.
Right over the Painted Horse song, second start. Dude,
the double lead.
You couldn't leave your recorder sitting around, or you dare not hand your recorder to Jason. He's front row. He's right up against, the boys are Big Bear, and you're like, hey, record for me. And then he drops a corn dog on your recording. So I'm calling you out now, all the corn dog victims.
I left my fingerprint all over that music.
From 91 to 2001, you fell victim. A decade of terror in the powwow world.
Those are keepers. I'm sure those are keepers somewhere.
I know. I got a couple. I got Iowa Seal. I got MSCB.
Iowa Seal.
This is getting real specific, but we had him on the mic, guys, and I had to call him out. The corn dog bandit is in the house. So
let's give Jason the official introduction, and we're glad he can join us here today. Jason HeavyRunner is on our advisory board at the Indigenous Research Center. He was chosen to guide us. After that story, I don't know though. To give us great advice.
He's a changed man.
Undercut all the credibility.
He's a change. He's reformed, guys.
Gone.
He's bona fide.
Yeah. So now Jason is he's got a master's in social work. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, master's in social work. Yeah. So he's got his boots on the ground, helping out the people. So we're thankful that we have his wisdom guiding us. And he's a younger lad. How old are you, Jason? You want to say?
I am 46.
He hesitates. He had to count.
I have to think about it. I don't think about my age.
He's like, whoa. I know. Whoa. Yeah, how old am I?
Am I going to lie or not?
Yeah. So we're glad to have Jason on today.
Thank you.
And of course we know that he has a vast amount of knowledge, and his his experiences. So
which he displayed some of that.
Yeah, just now. So I'd like to hear some a follow up on that, Aaron, because I know. Go ahead.
Well, Jason brought up the push dance, which is kind of has the same roots. It correlates right in the same era as the owl dance. Now, what's interesting about this is that kids in the background.
Yeah, I don't know. I checked. It's not mine.
It's
Jason. You got a bunch of kids running around back there.
Sorry, it's the neighborhood kids out the window.
Oh, is it?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I can mute that out afterwards.
Oh.
Then
Okay.
Come on.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
tell them to shut up.
Say,
Get to work.
Podcaster live.
Shut up. Yeah.
No, I'm on the third floor. They can't hear me.
So, and Marty, you feel free to jump in with whatever knowledge you have on this topic of push dance. But before we talk about the push dance, I think it's important to talk about the era in which all of these dances are like going off by wildfire. So the religious ban happened to tribes right around 1880, right? You could argue different times, but it really goes until the early 1920s. Then all of a sudden, John Collier lifts certain restrictions on the dance ban, and one of those was in celebration of America's independence or for tourism. So that's why there's all these powwows on the 4th of July, right? But there's also a lot of powwows near like train stations where there's train stops. Historically, there was train stops in certain places. But also, they would disguise certain religious ceremonies with social dances. Right. So like at the end of a ceremony, they would have a dance to kind of mask it as something social. So then, and I also think that's why the grass dance ceremony takes off from about 1900 to 1950 is because it looked like a non-religious ceremony. So these people weren't too concerned about it. But the owl dance was typically done in people's homes late at night. And so they started calling these people owls. And they would have these things called house dances. And I talked to my grandma about this, and she'd say, real late at night, somebody would walk around from house to house and say, we're going to have a dance. And so they come over and they take all the furniture out, and everyone to have a dance in the house. And so the way the Crow had done it differently, and I'm talking owl dance and push dance correlate real close. So it's a lot of the same protocols. So they'd say, you're not allowed to dance with your wife. And that's one thing that makes a difference, because crows really look down upon jealousy. And they said a jealous man will not be social. So he'll only stick with his wife. So they say by making a rule, just make the rule that you can't, you gotta dance with other people. And typically you'll dance with your wife's sisters, right? And there's even like money exchanges where you'll kind of somebody will put money on their shoulders, like dollar bills or a fruit basket. And if you dance with them, then you get that. I have heard of people saying if they refuse, then they have to pay for that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, but these songs were kind of inspired by this. They took the owl dance beat. So push dance songs have words in them, like in relation to being in love or being lonely for your loved one, or like I know there's some Crow lyrics where it talks about your family tries to keep us apart, but I'll do everything I can to be with you. These kinds of things. So
that's pretty interesting.
And when I talk to some of these older folks, they say World War II is what kicked it off, because there was actually a lonesome feeling anyway from a lot of people. So a lot of these push dance songs, these owl dance songs, even the Kiowa 49 songs, a lot of them were composed during the World War II era. So we call it pahilua. Pahilua means to push forward. So that's why they call it push dance. But
did you speak something to doorway songs? when I hear doorway songs, I think I hear that parallel singing.
Yeah.
But does that have a different meaning?
Doorway songs are their own genre of music, but the tone is the same. Like it's love songs. It's I miss you. In fact, there's a famous story of a Crow war party that comes to attack the Salish, and one of the Crow men was actually a Hidatsa man, and he was wounded by the Salish. So he goes into a cave and he tells the people, tell my wife where I'm at. So they actually paint her a map with red clay on a hide, and she comes back. But one of the ways she finds him is by singing a song. So she sings this song, and she they imply that this song kind of is the inspiration for her and all this, and they still sing that song today. But they're sung a cappella, and they're typically like kind of the same idea. I love you. I miss you. I want to be with you. You're the one for me. There's another story of a man and a woman where the husband dies, and the woman hears a song at night, and she follows it, and it's her husband singing that song, and so she remembered the song, and then it's another doorway song. They call them doorstep singers because in years past, a man could go to a woman's lodge and sing in front of the lodge, and if she came out, and she could take his hand, and then she would be with him. If not, she would come out and give him something, and she'd give him a gift, and the gift signified, finish your song, and when you're done, though, go about your business. And that became a tradition at Crow Fair, was to go from camp to camp and sing these songs. They're associated a lot with partying, but that's not the roots of them. Like the roots of these songs was to sing and just have a good time, I guess, and fall in love.
I thought John Cusack invented singing outside the door.
Oh, is that a High Fidelity thing?
I don't know what movie it was, but he jumps outside the house and he's blasting his music.
I thought Corn Dog was an obscure reference, but damn, High Fidelity reference on an Indian research show. That's pretty.
Yeah.
A lot
do
of the
some
content,
research before
all
we
the
start.
music, you have the process and the format, but the content is always typically love or broken love or lost love, or
they'll say one of the main words, and even non-Crows know this word. And love, this idea of love is so powerful among tribes that we even know in Cree you say Nichimus, right? And like even non-Crees know that term to be like your sweetheart. In Crow, it's Awajishigada, the one I love. So,
Interesting. Yeah, all this this theme. I think we talked about it in one episode about the love and the love medicine. And when I was researching this particular topic of the owl dance, I seen it more associated with the Sayudlam, or what more typically it's called in the English is the scalp dance. Primarily because like around here, growing up as a youth, to answer Jason's question, what happens if you refuse? We were always told as a kid, if a girl comes ask you to dance, you're gonna have to, if you don't want to do it, you got to pay her $5, and we never really ask where that come from or what any of that means. It just means you gotta pay them something for asking. But it was really closely aligned to this idea of the gift dance, where if you wanted to, honor somebody in a particular way, you would dance with them, not in the owl dance style, but you dance with them arm in arm. Then at the end of the dance, the person officiating the dance would come over and help facilitate the exchange of gifts, and then announce to the people in the area that here's the reason why this person is giving this gift to this person. And the songs, all these songs are very, very their beat is all aligned, and so I thought maybe it was aligned with that idea of the Sayudlam, or the scalp dance, which also came over from from the east in that time. But I'm not sure, and the information we just heard now seems to be
what's
more
interesting
aligned.
is I heard some stories about different individuals over time, I guess in the past, where they would approach the family of that individual, would approach a young woman, and say, "We want you to marry our husband, our son," right? And that person could say, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'll marry your son."
Yeah.
Or the family of that daughter could basically say, "Hey, thanks for the offer," and then give gifts to that family. And they'll say, "No, we're not going to take that." And that family takes the gifts. So it seems like this idea of gift giving with refusal is very common. Like it's really common. So
yeah,
it's like softens the blow, maybe.
Yeah, there's this body of research today in they call it moral psychology, and these researchers actually did this huge global study on all these different types of societies of different sizes and different religions, and they're trying to come about a core set of values or moral constructs that seem to fit predominantly each group. And cooperation was a really huge one that was seen across all societies, and the maintenance of cooperation was and it seems to make sense. If you want to, even between tribes, if you want to maintain peace, well, you have to broker that in some way. If you want to maintain peace and stability within your tribal group, well, there should be a process to do that as well. So what Jason was talking about manners and etiquette, those are really important to maintaining good cooperation and good social order. And same thing Aaron was talking about, the gift.
And it also seems that certain types of attitudes come along with these dances. So they'll say, like, don't come in and bring certain types of vibes, right? And like jealousy seems to be kind of this undertone. Don't act somehow, as they say in Pishi.
Quit it. They say that everywhere.
Quit being somehow. You're looking at me somehow.
Some way. They was looking at me some way.
Oh, you say that.
I think you're muted, Jason.
Oh no, he's not.
I heard him. I heard him. I couldn't.
He's got his.
What did he say? I couldn't hear him.
I said that originally came from Pishi.
No, it's linguist.
I wonder how many people are out there like Googling where Pishi is.
Like, what is Pishi?
What is Pishi? What is
the Google car didn't drive through Pishi.
Yeah, it didn't. It skipped right over it. Although I want to. I'd like to hear from other people on the team. We got Camia here and Brenda and Sarah, and we also got our visiting scholar Marty. I'd like to hear from one of you guys, and what are your thoughts on some of these things we just got done talking about?
I mean, the thing that strikes me about some of these is that it's missing. You're talking about you're missing something, or you're lonely for something, or like you're doing without, and it's really interesting because I didn't know any of this history. And then just thinking about what the songs do, like they're giving you something. You're talking about they're providing a kind of social order. They're providing a way to, maintain that community, which, I mean, it works whether you know where it came from or why you're doing it, which is really, really interesting to me. But then the other part too about how like, that it seems like it's the same thing when you were talking about the social dances masking ceremony. Like you're missing that, you want that, and so you're doing this to get that thing. And I guess maybe it just that whole idea of asking for something and then having a way to refuse without making people upset or whatever that is. That's really cool. And I can see how in all of this stuff, it works. It does the thing that you want. It gives you that thing. And it's amazing to me that like, all right, been around this, and I've been able to get those things without knowing, hey, this came from whoever it came from, and it happened at this time, and that came from somewhere else. It's almost like it says the thing is more important, like these dances are more important than the origin, maybe? Or I don't know. Do you guys think that maybe it's focusing on the dance and what it does and how you can fulfill this thing that you're missing? Or is it about like that, you know, not holding on to like ownership of the, you know, the origin, like that isn't a big deal? I mean, I'm not sure what to make of that.
I think you're right. I think the end game is important, what you got from it, and sometimes the origin of it is not as critical. The reason I bring that up is there was a lot of cross-culture pollination during the 1950s when the government was started the relocation program. You know, there were 31,000 Indians who left the reservation with the hopes of entering the urban setting to try to join the 9 to 5, you know, game. And when they left the reservation, they brought a lot of their community knowledge to a setting that was the landscape that was not accepting of them. And of course, Indians will always find Indians wherever you're at. So I think there was a lot of sharing in that era. And then when you realize that this ain't my jam, I'm going back to Pishi, and and when I go back, I happen to have all this extra knowledge, you know, that you can actually bring back and start to grow roots. And it is interesting, and I like what you said. You get the needs are met.
And that's what matters.
Yeah. Brenda or Sarah, any response to the discussion?
I just want to
so
add on to Cami's, and that's a very good point to take, is that it doesn't matter really where the origin came, is that it came and it's stuck and it's accepted and it's a really good time. You know, I've seen the owl dance for a long time, and I guess I've never really thought twice about where it came from or, you know, the etiquette behind it. But it's just something I always saw. So cool. It's cool.
Yeah. Sarah?
I guess I'll add just a couple of things here. So Jason brought up the fact that in the 50s it was relocation era, but it was also termination era too. And so there were a lot of tribes that sadly were being terminated at that time, which you would think today is like almost unbelievable to think about even being possible. But I think you're right, Jason, and that's what probably drove some of this cross-pollination, this sharing of stories and songs and traditions and things like that. So but we can't forget that there is also this terrible part of that history as well, tribes being terminated. But I don't know, I'm trying to think too of the parallels in the dances that we're talking about here and some of the dances that I've seen back home in Laguna, back in New Mexico in our plaza. And I very distinctly remember what we were just talking about etiquette and morals and values and things being taught through the dances that you're seeing. So it's just neat to see some of those parallels too and start thinking about that.
Yeah, and to play devil's advocate, I think if you can directly link where the roots of a particular process is, that's always nice to know. You know, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Why you gotta be the devil to do that though?
It keeps it authentic.
Why do we even have to go there, man?
Well, I think the you know, we say origin doesn't matter, but I think to a lot of tribes
it does.
There is some territorialism concerned with that.
But we could make the argument.
Whoa! What's going on?
Audio.
Whoa!
Somebody,
you're good now.
Rubbing their mic. Okay,
that's
go ahead.
Jason. That's Jason. What I was gonna say,
your belly was rubbing on your mic.
Your belly.
There's my thick beard.
Yeah, we can see you now.
Your belly rubbing on the mic.
Oh, Jason, I hope you come back. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Jason's used of it. Okay, go ahead, Aaron.
Wait a second. Did Shondine just say used of it?
He's used of it.
There's no V in used to it.
Used of it.
Well, here in Arlee, it is. Okay? Don't tell me.
He's like,
don't tell me how to talk.
Used to it. This is coming from a reser that says the word coalesce. So. Dude, you're from Agency Road. Don't act all trying to say coalesce in epistemology.
I was sitting on my couch yesterday and I get this call from Aaron and hello. He said, hey, what's up, Aaron? Hey, what does coalesce mean? Like, Aaron, Google it. I didn't say that. I told him what it was. I said, man, you grew up in that generation where you have the information at your fingertips, but you don't know how to use it. Then he said, no, I grew up in a generation where you call people.
Where you talk to people. Yeah, dude. The whole time we're in our meeting and he's saying, and we're going to coalesce. And I'm like nodding my head and I'm in agreement. And then I call him and I'm like, bro.
Coalesce. Anyway, go.
What I was going to say. Well, maybe I don't know if Marty wants to say something because let's have him jump in on this because I do have something to piggyback off of Cammy. So,
Marty, go.
Well, I'm not an expert in anything, but I guess just my personal thoughts on this matter is kind of brings up past subjects that we've talked about, like romanticism and stuff like that. And what was going through my head with all this talk is a lot of times outsiders, non-natives will like see every song as like some sort of like ceremony and sacred thing that you have to like, everybody has to be quiet and everybody has to focus on what's happening. It's some kind of real sacred thing happening. But what are these songs mostly about? Love and being lonely for somebody you love. And that's, what we hear on the radio with popular songs, and it makes us, or it just kind of points to the fact we're humans. We have human feelings, and sure, the songs can be sacred, even if it's about love. But it's, I don't know. I just think I like to point out that it's just like we're human. We want to sing songs about love. We want to hear songs about love too.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, just kind of an obvious. I like to point out obvious things because it's like a lot of times we like, we're trying to do our jobs here, and a lot of times people will. You guys are awesome at knowing the backstory to all this stuff and traditions.
No, coalescing, I like good at coalescing all this.
Ultimately,
right, Aaron?
Ultimately, I do like to coalesce on the obvious, observation. I like to use words wrongly on purpose, just to see if you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Hey, Marty's right though. So this brings up something that my grandmother told me.
Yes, I'm right this time.
And it kind of makes me think about like among Indian music, any song we're singing does have a level of like sacredness to it. I don't want to say sacredness, but my grandmother used to say when you sing, it's like praying twice, right? And so,
yeah.
And if you look through the entirety of the catalog of Native music, one of the few times Native men, especially in the plains, truly express themselves is through song.
Mm.
So, it was kind of also seen as a counseling session and a way to kind of release some stress. But what I was going to say about what Cammy I said, is that Jason?
That's nowhere Marty. Near my belly. He said,
"Is
it Marty?"
It's Marty because it popped up.
I touched a piece of paper.
He touched paper to pen.
Who did that? I don't know where that's coming from.
I love it, Marty.
So for those of you who think we're in a storm, that was Marty moving a paper on his desk.
And we saw.
So
yeah, we saw it.
So Robert Lowy, who was an anthropologist in the early 1900s and studying the Crows, and I think this statement can apply to a lot of Native people. He says the Crows seem very little interest in. They value success over antiquity. That's what he says. The Crows value success over antiquity, which there's some truth in that. And what he's saying is like kind of what Cammy I said. Yeah, we could talk about origins and how long things have been around, and that's a very European way of looking at like things, seniority and like who's been here the longest. I mean, there's definitely some of that in Indian country, but what he said is basically saying if it works, they do it. Yeah. So there's no need to have this. Yeah, be practical. Mm-hmm. There's no need to be like, well, we're not going to do that because it comes from the Sioux, or we're not going to do that. No, they valued other people's rights and rituals just as much because if they seen success in it, they wanted it. And that's why these ceremonies and things were diffused so easily and accepted so easily, is because they saw value in them.
Yeah. So true. So true. And I think a really important component in what we're doing and what we're going to do in the future to oh, what's Jason doing?
Did my mic turn off?
No,
dude.
Oh, I thought my mic turned off.
No, dude, you're good.
Are you drumming?
Dude, he was like,
I'm praying twice.
He's praying twice. He was like, you know what? I'm tired of this guy. I'm going to start hitting my mic. Hey, that's the academic form of corn dog.
Oh, quit.
It did it again. Well, hey, you know what? Let's listen to this next song. We'll take a little short break. But first, whose laugh is this? Are you ready? Whose laugh is this?
Oh, that's Marty,
Selena.
dude.
That's Selena. That's Selena Hill. Isn't it?
No, it is Selena.
Definitely Selena.
You care to hear it again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why would you think that was Marty?
I'm sorry, Marty.
Okay, one more. You ready? Who is this?
Oh, that's Marty.
That's Marty.
Yeah, that's Marty.
Marty.
Listen to it again. This is a good one. This cracks me up every time I hear it. Kind of makes me happy.
That should be.
That is good.
You should have that ready, man. You should have that ready, like
just on loop or cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hit it. Whenever somebody just smiles, just hit it.
That's my
Love it.
That's my laugh I do just to make sure everybody knows I was just kidding what I said right before I laughed.
That's the I jokes laugh.
Dude, that was
and what's weird is I practice these laughs. I sit down and I just do it for fun. But I was told once even fake laughter improves your mood and kind of has all the health benefits as real laughter. Probably not as good, but even fake laughing. So go ahead and fake laugh once in a while, guys. It's okay.
Hey, Indians, we don't laugh.
Quit it.
Don't laugh.
No.
It's story time.
Okay, here we go. Second song. You ready?
Oh, second song, Northern Cree. Give us 4 stars.
Do it.
recording or?
Hello?
Shondine's still thinking about it?
Yeah. That's a cool tune, though.
It wasn't in thought. I liked it too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Shondine.
Yeah, I had my mic on mute. I was really laughing around it with you guys. That song was another example of a owl dance song sung in 1950 by Paul Finley. And again, this is an example of a introduced song, and it was in line again with some of the other types of gift dancing and owl dancing and round dancing, and some of the older folks around that time in the 50s, had different ideas of where these songs came in. Some of them would say they came in from the Blackfoot. Someone said they'd come in from the Crow, and then in the 1900s. But there was kind of a shared belief that this type of dance and song, like Aaron was saying among the Crows, that it only happened at night. So again, there's that kind of connection between these types of dances and these songs and the time in which they were to be sung, and really ties in kind of the infusion of traditional ways that we see, I guess, as traditional today. So it brings in this idea of, and we kind of talked about it, but, people like to claim ownership of things and make it part of their collective authentic identity. But, if you really become a student of singing and of songs, that we're fortunate to have some people here who really understand that, we can get to see that, the idea of the authentic indigenous traditions are as maybe not so authentic in the way that some people think, which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. But what are you guys' thoughts on that? On identity?
Well, there's identity in the music, like the way Aaron described how you unfold a song, and Cahomeny's bounce is a little bit different than an owl dance bounce. Crees definitely have that, I don't know what you call it, a triple beat.
Yeah.
So when you go ahead and crack out a song based on their beat, you can kind of already hear where it's coming from.
Yeah. That seems to be kind of an important topic in a lot of matters, even as far as art is concerned, the expression of ideas and in artistic creations, beadwork designs, parfletch designs. But it really leans on the idea that Aaron was talking about what is it? What does he say? Antiquity. What was that phrase you often say there, Aaron? What does he say? What do you say?
Antiquity over success? Or no? Is that what you say, Aaron?
Success over antiquity. Yeah. And it just aligns with that about, how do we frame our identity? Do we have to look back 100 years? Do we have to look back 200 years? 1,000 years to affirm our identity? Do we have to be those things that happened in that time period? Or can we really embody what we do now today as our authentic selves?
Yeah, it's kind of like, is a bowling ball, when it's rolling through the lane, is it a bowling ball the whole time? Or is it just a bowling ball at the beginning or at the end? That's how, like, Indian people, it doesn't matter what stage in evolution we are, we're still native people. And as long as that evolution and culture happens somewhat naturally, it seems like it's guided at least by Indian ideals and concepts, but where it gets really crazy is when something totally foreign is thrown into it in a very abrupt fashion. And then, man, that could really wreck the psychology of a tribe or a people,
Yeah. What is an example of something like that?
Well, alcohol.
Western education.
That's the first one I thought of. What did you say, Sarah?
Western education.
Yeah, I mean, we could name a number of things that.
And in some forms, Sarah's example is more dangerous because Western education was masked as something good. And really all it did is it replaced an entire way of thinking, And all the while, Native people kind of knew there was a conflict, right? We could feel the conflict happening, and you understand it's happening, but yet, man, like we kind of did it. And Chief Plentycoos always gets quoted for this idea of education, where they'll say, with education, you're the white man's equal. Without it, you're his victim. But really, it's like he's not saying it like that. He's saying like, basically use what you can from it, because otherwise this whole thing is going to eat you up, Well, it's a different tone,
I think that example is really hard though, because if you think about like, hey, the intent of education is, you're told it's supposed to be this good thing. And there's a lot of people in education who were trying to do a really good thing. And then you're looking out at, the Western predominant society, and it seems to be doing really good things for most of them. So there's like this, there's a split there. What's working in that case for those people isn't going to work for you. It's not meant to work for you in that same way. So
yeah, and I think Indian people in Indian country, we have to be fully aware of the difference between something that appears to be working versus something that's actually working. And a lot of times we seem to like lean towards things that might look like they're working. And that's kind of how I would say education is. You ever see that, like, if anyone's ever had like kind of an ornery uncle or a mean dad or something, and you're like hurt, scrape your elbow, and they'll say, well, give me your finger, they'll say, give me your finger then, It's kind of the same thing. Like our education in Indian countries always been like, yeah, let's go to the impoverished and disenfranchised and then give them this thing. Of course it's going to look better than what we're going through.
Yeah.
And it's going to look it's like, well, I can go there and eat. I can go there and even today we still have that issue where kids on reservations are having a hard time finding meals, and so they can go to school and find some sense of consistency. So it's like it has the appearance of being something good, all the while it's teaching you to really be counter to what's natural to you.
Very true.
But how else do we keep pace, without it? I think that's, boy.
Well, it's tough. It's tough, and I would say I don't have the answer. I don't think I'm ever going to have the answer, but I think what we have to do is support ideas of like the do-it-yourself mentality, right? Like Indian people have to have the DIY, right? Because at least, we can have education, but as long as we have some level of independent spirit, or not just independent spirit, but like independent applicable ideas and mechanics, like that's where we can kind of still be who we are. But as long as I'm gonna say something that's kind of offensive, and even for me that's in education, as long as we kind of buy this philosophy that somehow education can help us be more Indian, I don't buy it, man.
Oh yeah,
I don't buy it, and I'm kind of getting tired of like Indian education using this as like, you're a modern warrior, Indian is diplomas are your new, and it's like, man, like let's not mask it. Let's just use it for what it is. It's a tool that we can use. And as long as we keep it utilitarian, I think we're fine. But if we try to infuse it as a philosophical notion into the way we think, that's where it gets dangerous.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I agree. And that's one of the dangers that we face as educators, in our own way. How much influence do we have to really break that Western education mold in our own way of educating young Native people in the tribal colleges? But then again, we're approaching this thing that we're trying to create, and we really have to try to center ourselves and ensure that we're not just appeasing some system that we've grown accustomed to. So that's the idea of really trying to get at the heart of our own philosophical commitments, our own theoretical foundations of learning and understanding, but really in a modern sense, I think is really the approach that we're taking right now by having these discussions, by fleshing out the things that we think are very important, and then how do we infuse, or for Aaron, how do we coalesce? How do we coalesce all that into a structure that seems to combat or to fight that that big force of education that we've been subjected to? Okay, so let's do this. One more or a couple more laughs. Who can tell me? Let's see who I haven't done yet. I think I've done everybody. Oh no!
What is that, Aaron?
Whose laugh is this? Are you ready?
Ready.
Listen closely.
Brenda.
Brenda.
So cute, dude.
Brenda.
That's a belly laugh that came from my belly.
That come from the region, way down.
The microphone bonker or whatever. Was that your bed?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That is a
That
good
is
one.
a
I like
good one.
that.
Peachy in the hizzy.
Quit it.
Makes you feel nice and cheery. Okay, whose laugh? I think I've done everybody. Who's this?
Oh, that guy.
Why did I get
Dr.
the like you
Because
just
it's
seen
the
a
easiest.
cat.
It's so
Like a
easy.
kitten. Oh, look at the kitten. Oh. Yeah.
You can't trick us. You can't trick us
I
with that
know.
laugh.
No, it's way too easy. All right. So what were we talking about here now? Let's wrap it in. Let's bring it in.
What has interrupted us from the bowling alley path?
The bowling alley, yes. So I don't know how.
That's a bad
how
analogy. That's a bad analogy.
I didn't know what else to.
Yeah,
well, I'm just saying, while the bowling ball's moving, it doesn't matter where it's at. It's still a bowling ball.
The path. Yeah.
Right, the path. So this idea of identity, some people can get hung up on it, I think, and some folks can use it as a tool of oppression, use it as a tool of trying to elevate themselves by saying they're more native because they do such and such activities.
Hey man, let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's
that's what we're doing. We're doing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing right now.
I mean, like right now?
Right now we're doing it.
I mean, like right now?
Right, exactly this minute now.
Boom. It's almost like
here.
Yeah. Man, this is a thing. This is like a real thing. Who's more Indian? Who's more this? And man,
it is.
You know,
it is.
When I think of this, I think immediately of like what my grandparents would say to something like that, like almost like a shame on you. Like, why would you say that about your own cousins or somebody? I just feel like a grandparent would never, try to make that hierarchy or something. It just
not me. I'm blaming grandparents for this. No, I'm just
No, yeah, I get it. And I think, and I can't speak for everybody, but we may or may not have all been a part of the ugly end of identity, and maybe we've even been a part of, shaming other people for being less than. And it's really an important one, and I think this again, our mission in this research center, we're going to have to address it, and we're going to have to make sure that we're pretty clear on our understandings and our thinking and related to it. And we definitely do not want to cast anybody out or elevate anybody up beyond what they deserve, but we really do need to address it, what it is, is there even a such thing as an authentic Indigenous identity today? Go ahead, hit it. Somebody
jump.
Yeah.
Cripes, you guys.
Sick 'em.
You're just
Get
like,
on it. I mean, the question is obvious. It's an obvious question, right? Of course, there's an authentic identity.
Mm-hmm.
We are all what we are.
Here's another thing. It's like identity is identity. No one. I mean, it's what it is. Yeah, we know that part, but I do think there's actually some legitimate argument into being like, what makes you tribal is a shared identity. That's what being tribal is. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of times people want to say, well, this is how I feel. Well, that's cool. And I respect that. But that's American, man. Tribal people, there is a shared belief. There's a shared idea. That's what makes you a tribe.
Yeah.
Tribe by definition is not an individual.
Correct.
Yeah.
I said it.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Aaron said it.
I want to add to this idea because I think that even within like this, so within a tribe, you've got this collective identity. You know, it's us. This is who we are.
Yeah.
There's still room in that for this idea of who I am, that you're a member of the tribe and you're doing that in a slightly different way than another person is. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
That I agree that there is this tribal identity, and it, I don't know, coincides with the personal identity. Like each person has to do that in a slightly different way. Otherwise, you've got this, you know, group of clones, if that makes sense. So it sounds, I don't know, I'm not saying this right because it sounds like I'm disagreeing when in fact I agree.
I'm immediately offended.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I get what you're saying, Cammy. And I don't want people to think somehow like I'm some kind of like a culture Nazi or something, but I do
no
think
soup for you.
No soup for you.
Okay.
I do think there's been a couple Seinfeld references in this show. I do think we use our feelings sometimes as a crutch or like a cop out. Sometimes we'll say, well, this is how I feel, so therefore it doesn't matter, you got to accept it, this is how I feel. And it's like, well, I get that and I respect it, but at the same time too, there is an underlying idea of uniformity among tribal people, and that's what makes us a tribe. But I get what you're saying. The individuality does exist within that system.
And there's a limit to it, because if you take that too far, then you're not going to be a part of the tribe anymore. Like there are things that aren't going to be accepted.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now, can I ask a question that might be like considered offensive? But I think most people can chime in on this. But I don't know if this is fortunate or unfortunate, but I grew up in Crow Agency. that came out wrong. both my parents are Crow Indians. All my grandparents are Crow Indians. All my great grandparents. Is there, because now my kids are half, right? My kids are half Blackfeet and half Crow. So for those of you who have a shared heritage, has that ever been an issue for any of you? Like, is that a thing that, because I'm legitimately concerned because, or want to know, because my kids are mixed. Are they going to have these questions? Are they going to see themselves as mixed? Or, you know what I mean? It's a no-brainer when you kind of wake up and both your parents are Crow and you're like, okay, I guess I'm Crow today. You know, like
the answer there.
Yeah, and so I'm curious. This is a legitimate question. I actually want to know.
Yeah, anybody? No. So yeah, I grew up here in Arlee, Montana, and my mom Salish and my dad Navajo, and I grew up with an identity that was formed here in Arlee, in living in the between the 70s and 80s and 90s. So I grew up really understanding more about my my Salish understandings and ways, and not so much about my Navajo ways and understandings, but because of blood quantum requirements and federal recognition and those kind of things, I didn't have enough blood to be enrolled here in this confederacy of tribes. So I happened to be enrolled in the Navajo. But in the eyes of people, despite have never lived anywhere else, despite never exhibiting any Navajo traits, people will still refer to me as a Navajo, and it was and at a certain period in my time, it was concerning. Like, well, no, my dad's Navajo, but I'm not really Navajo because I know very little about those ways and I don't practice those. So that was one thing that was growing up was a little bit of an adjustment to it. And it wasn't more so me and my thinking and understanding. It was more trying to deflect, I guess, people challenging who I am and what I know, more in that area. Anybody else chime into Aaron's question?
I didn't mean. I hope I didn't offend anybody.
No, it's a good point. It really is a good point. And given my background and my lineage, I just have to pull in double time, really, to honor both my mother's side, my father's side, and it's work. There's one is not better than the other, but it's what works. What works for the Bitterroot Salish works for them, and works for the Blackfeet works for the Blackfeet. And I participate on both sides, and I take it upon myself to try to learn what's available, and also do my own research. And it helps being around people who are on the same path. And I think that's rare, but I also know that there are people who have multiple backgrounds, but they only participate in one and kind of block and don't acknowledge the other tribe. So I always thought that was an interesting dynamic, but
on purpose or by choice or just by nature, though?
Yeah, that maybe one of each. By choice. Maybe they have feelings or a long history of something. Environmentally, maybe they're not in the environment that would even be accepting of a different diverse background. So
so I have
it's just work. It's just double work. That's all.
Yeah. So I have a Nez Perce name, and my mom gave it to me after like my dad's great or maybe great grandma, and I don't really know anything about that. My mom's mom came from Turtle Mountain, and I have no connection to that either. I just knew her as a mostly Catholic lady who lived in Ronan. And so the same thing is that my grandpa, so he used to get teased by Bearhead, who, well, I mean, I guess you can edit this out. Bearhead used to call him a son of a Blackfoot because his grandma was Blackfoot. And so
Ohio,
right. So we've got these family members who came from different places, and yet like I grew up in Mission. My grandparents were from around here, and I just kind of knew myself as Salish. I knew that there was this history, these other people, but I don't know myself as, I don't know anything about that. I know that there's the history there. And so that was kind of this weird thing. Like, how do you connect to something that you have no knowledge of? So, just kind of connecting to like where you're at and what your parents and other people are teaching you and telling you. And that's kind of how it came together. And so with that whole enrollment thing, kind of like with what you're talking about, Shantine, like I wasn't enrolled growing up, and I felt a little bit of weirdness about that. Like it felt like it was maybe a marginal kind of a thing, and in some way. But then when I did get enrolled, the big takeaway was absolutely nothing changed. Like it didn't change.
Big drum roll. Nothing.
Pretty much meaningless.
Drum roll. Nothing changed.
Where's my feather?
Right? After I was enrolled, since I've been enrolled, the blood quantum has changed like 3 times, and I'm like, all right, so we've really underscored the fact that this is meaningless. So
wait a second. You're telling me that the enrollment system is not foolproof?
Well, right.
Quitted.
What?
Wait.
Cami Eyes brought up another point, in my timeline where all my Blackfeet relatives always called me Flathead. All my Flathead relatives always called me Blackfeet. So
Blackfeet.
you have to dig in and you're inward to know who you are, right?
Yeah.
But what Cammy I said also, it struck a memory that our enrollment was changed and we didn't know it. And what you don't know doesn't seem to really affect you. I don't know exactly at what age we were unenrolled Blackfeet and enrolled Salish, but what's the difference? You know, if you know who you are and you know who what your experiences are, it kind of doesn't come into play. But it's an interesting question, Aaron. Lots to talk about.
It is.
Well,
it is.
Yeah, and for me, I kind of agree with what Jason was saying about you kind of have to put in double work to kind of learn about one side and learn about the other side. For me, my dad is Chicano and my mom is Crow. And my mom even has a little bit of Northern Cheyenne on her dad's side, my grandpa. And so I mainly grew up knowing that I was Chicano and knowing that I was Crow. And I did put in the work, you know. I ate that green chili. I ate the tacos. I ate you know, I learned some Spanish words and I took Spanish in high school.
He watched Blood In, Blood Out 13 times.
But maybe not. I wasn't allowed to watch that. That was off limits.
La Bamba.
La Bamba.
Yeah, exactly. But then, you know, I did the Crow work too. I got the lemonade at Crow Fair. I went to the parade. And I ate Indian tacos, and there was a little bit of overlap there. But
and he's like,
where I really, but where it really all came together was when I ate menudo. I could be Mexican, I could be Crow at the same time.
You found the balance. You found it. You found that loophole.
It unites people. Dude, yeah, it unites people.
That was Jedi.
But you know, I'm not.
Dean almost fell on the back of his chair. Oh my
God. But to even get more detail in this, my dad always called himself Chicano because his family didn't originate from Mexico. So why would we call ourselves Mexican? But that's what everybody kind of knows that term better, Mexican. So I'm Mexicro. A lot of people use that term, Mexicro.
Not a lot, Marty.
But it's interesting though.
Like 47 people.
Yeah, but it's interesting. 47.
His whole family.
There's his family, and then one family that owns a restaurant in Crow.
Yeah. But it's interesting though, because my dad's he's been doing a lot of like genealogy work. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
I just had a
just say it is.
Kind of stopped
Sean
there
Dean
for a
says
second.
coalescing.
Anyways,
doesn't know what it means.
Redundant.
I was just going to say that.
I'm disconnect.
Well, he's finding some like Pueblo ancestors. So, and Chicano, of course, you know, that's mixed with native people. Yeah. So, anyways, and then me, I'm Crow, but dealing with people when they hear me, it's like they wait for me to say my last name because you got to find out if I meet a Crow or a native person, they'll ask my last name, you know, to kind of, you know how it goes, to place me and know where I come from or who I'm related to. And I say Lopez, then they're like, oh, but my mom's a Pease, and then they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have to like.
I've witnessed that being with Marty. Like we go on a work trip or something, and then I'll say that, and they're like, oh, okay, and then all of a sudden it's a whole different thing. You know?
Whole different vibe.
Yeah.
But
Anybody else?
You also have to deal with the American side of your identity. You know, I went and I ate the cheeseburgers and I ate the hot dogs, and I learned the Tupac songs and the NSYNC songs.
Back to back sometimes.
NSYNC?
Well, I'm American.
As he's American as apple pie.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm as American as powdered eggs.
Okay.
Jason knows powdered eggs, man.
Powdered eggs night.
Powdered eggs and luncheon meat.
Powdered eggs and grape juice.
Oh, that thick stout grape juice.
Potent.
That's Pishi style there.
Word.
I just want you to guys know I lived in Pishi for years, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So watch out.
Oh,
yeah. So watch your back.
Brenda or Sarah, do you want to weigh in on that question, or did we cover it?
Go ahead, Brenda. Or I feel bad.
Oh,
I think we're.
No, that's a very, very personal question for me.
Yeah.
I don't quite know how to explain that without getting too intense. But it's it's very intense, and I got to process that so I don't offend any of my family listening.
We are recording.
Oh, that's
anybody,
real.
you know.
I want to know now.
I guess Brenda, that answer right there was almost answer enough, because that's what I'm wanting to know is like, is this something that's a legit thing for my kids to be concerned about? Sarah, did you want to say something? Because I have a part 2 to the question.
Well, I don't think mine is as applicable as what we're talking here, because I'm just from one tribe, and then a mix of other things. So I don't quite have the same turmoil that we're kind of talking about here. So yeah, I'll just pass and let you ask your second part.
Okay, so the second part actually might fit you better than from my observation, and this is just pure, no scientific research, no anything, is it seems that we now live in a time where it's almost harder to be two different tribes than to be half white. Because it almost seems like it becomes a cultural competition at that point. Now with a non-Indian side, I'm sure that has its own set of issues, and I would totally admit I'm talking about stuff I don't have any right to talk about, but just from the appearance, it seems like it's like it defaults to the tribal side in some cases. I'm sure there's cases out there that I'm unaware of where they don't want their Indian family to be Indian or whatever, but it just seems I'm curious to know, is there a difference in the struggle of being half another tribe versus being half non-Indian?
I'm only one tribe, but I have quite a few friends that are from two separate tribes, and they conflict when it comes down to food, as Marty was like talking about food. There's like, seriously, there's some things that, you know, she's half Crow, half Kootenai. There's some things that she can't eat because her Crow family tells her not to, you know, and then when she comes up here to the Flathead, it's just very conflicting. So that is a real thing.
You almost told on her just now. She was like, when she comes up here Flathead, she breaks all the rules.
I'm like, I saw what you were eating.
I saw.
It is very conflicting, though.
It seems like, you know, proximity has a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
totally. I would think, you know, like in my case, you know, my relatives in my heritage is quite a few miles away, so there's no opportunity to interact and you know, partake in that part. You know, I suppose I could if I really had a deep interest, you know, to develop that identity of mine. But you know, it's just like what you said. You know, what is the practical approach that kind of we are born with. And that's really just to embody what is here, what is now, and what I can, you know, what was kind of taught to me because of that. But I know other folks, you know, who might be, you know, half Crow, half Blackfeet, or half Salish, half Crow, half Salish, half Blackfeet. You know, the proximity is fairly close. It's just it's less than a day to get to these different places, so it's easy to partake in different parts of your tribal heritage. But then you have the people who are really concerned about authenticity and your intention, and they might question, why are you even trying to do, you know, these ceremonies with tribe X when we need you committed to tribe Y right here.
That even kind of happens here on our Flathead reservation when people try to go to both Salish and Kootenai jump dances or whatever.
Yeah.
That there's people there that really frown down upon that kind of thing. So
Well, I appreciate you guys and trying to answer the questions or answering it, because it has always been something that's been kind of in my mind. Like, how do people deal with this kind of stuff? For me, growing up in Crow, what was the dividing factors? If you spoke Crow, you were criticized by people who could speak Crow versus people who couldn't speak Crow. And me being a non-Crow speaker, there definitely was a distinction growing up. And this is fascinating to me because it's like a weird thing to be a divider.
Yeah. It takes a lot of energy.
Oh man,
to do that. A lot of energy to divide people, to put people down, to judge people. Way more energy than it takes to unite people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a lot of
oh
ways.
yeah, man.
And I think, this issue will come up as we progress along in this center. People are going to question, and we're going to get some hard questions, very, very similar to this. And I think that's a really good approach. Is we're not going to put energy into exclusion, into division, but really to unite thoughts and ideas that are practical and that work for a wide range of tribal people and in tribal environments.
Yeah.
That's my pitch.
I think too, though, what separates us from a lot of other institutions, or I guess cohorts, is we're not afraid to ask and answer these kinds of questions, or try to, I just don't see a lot of Native researchers really starting to get into these kinds of questions. And I could be wrong, and hopefully I am wrong, and people are doing this kind of work and trying to solve these I don't know what you call them, like not philosophical questions, but that groups deal with. The group is dealing with a certain type of thing. And identity, man, that's a powerful topic. Once you start opening that thing, it can cause division. It can cause unity, like you're saying. So I think it's important, though, that we really flesh out what's needless. And one of these things is like the enrollment system is a needless system.
Yeah.
It causes trouble. We're not racehorses, man.
Yeah. No, we're not. We're not miniature schnauzers.
I am pretty fast, though.
Well, this is
I think you did this when you did that too.
That's so serious.
Getting pretty fast, bro.
Yeah.
Her name, Mary Catherine Gallagher.
I tie my shoes real fast, and I'm real fast.
This is part one of a 2-part series. So we're going to continue this talk about identity next week with Jason, if he's willing to join us again, so we can really round out this conversation and hit some of the important topics. But let's give Jason a chance to kind of close us out, tell us some sage advice.
Was that an Indian joke? Sage advice?
Some sage. That was a metaphor. Sage advice. I got the talking stick, so would you just not interrupt? Sage advice. And let him. We'll let him close us out.
Yeah, I just want to share. Aaron probably did this. Shondine probably did this. But during an owl dance, the boys would sit around and throw $5 on a drum. First person to get asked gets the pot. You guys ever do that?
Oh yeah, when you're sitting at the drum with the boys.
Yeah, you're sitting around, and it's kind of a byproduct if you're single, but you're committed to the drum. And I'm sitting with Jason Belcourt, Corey Wadsworth, doing a bunch of name dropping. And
Painted horse.
And first owl dance comes on. We all committed $5 in. Your wife can't ask you. Your girlfriend can't ask you. Eyes forward. First person gets asked gets the pot. First verse, second verse. The whole song goes by. Nobody gets asked. Second song. First verse. Second song blows by. Nobody got asked. Third song goes by. nobody gets asked. And we're like, God damn, are we the ugliest drum here or what? so everybody gets $5 back. But if you ask the same boys to tell that same story, they're going to say, yeah, I won.
$40 that day.
So when I'm going to tell the story the second time, I'm going to say, yeah, I won. Yeah, I won.
Yeah, there's two types of singers, Jason. There's the guy who wants to get asked, and then there's always that one singer that goes and hides in the bathroom.
No, I wanted to be asked. I never was asked.
He's usually the dude with nachos in his hands.
Spilt pop.
Yeah, he's got coffee stains on his shirt.
Yeah, wearing yesterday's clothes. No, I wanna acknowledge you guys for all the good work that you guys do, and I also want to acknowledge the good storytellers, the story keepers, the knowledge keepers. The stories that I was relating to you guys came from Nicole HeavyRunner, Donovan Beauchamp, Thomas Nightgun. The things that you just pick up, if you have a chance to ask somebody some questions, more than likely they're willing to share. You just have to take that interest, and it kind of gives you a well-rounded picture. For years, I was just going through the motions, sit down, sing. Then it dawned on me, what's the epicenter of this? Where does this come from? What's this about? What's its meaning? And when you start asking questions like that, there are a lot of good people out there willing to share. Aaron and I both know Dana Wilson. He's also a good knowledge keeper. Many people across the board, there are a lot of deep wells, gold mines of information out there. Just if you take it upon yourself and you can educate yourself, and it gives you a full picture of just don't take dogma. Just don't go out there and just do it,
Yeah.
Get some context of why you're doing it, because it'll fill your spirit just that much more, And I felt very educated. I felt very blessed being around the singers that I've been around over the years. They're, for the most part, were all ceremony singers. So powwow was just always second fiddle. So the being around ceremony singers, they really have a deep appreciation for what a song is. They understand the spirit of a song, whether it be a kahominy or owl dance or a push dance. All of these songs, if you're around people who are song connoisseurs, they can really share a spirit of a song, and that translates to making other people feel good. They understand if you execute this song well, it'll make people feel good. That community maintenance of helping people be well, helping people heal, helping people maintain their irregularity. We're not always balanced, and that's why we're attracted to powwows. That's why we're attracted to groups of Indians, because we know we're going to go laugh, we're going to go sing, we're going to go tap our toes, we're going to go out and owl dance, and that's the importance of these processes and why we do them. Is a community feeling, a shared interest of touching base, getting caught up with news. We don't see each other all the time. An owl dance, a formal get together gives us that opportunity to get out and be amongst each other. So,
right on, Jason. We'll close with that. Thank you, guys, and then we'll see you guys all again next week. Thank you for joining us on this episode, and to learn more, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at IRCSKC. You can find us also on Facebook and YouTube by searching SKC Indigenous Research Center. You can also visit our website at irc.skc.edu. Don't forget to join us next time as we continue our discussions on Indigenous research, Indigenous research methodologies, and Indigenous worldviews.